Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. As always, thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your day here with me today. In this video, I really am so excited to talk about, basically to tell a story about one pivotal turning point on my journey very early on when I first started understanding the concept of empowerment as I'm talking about it here on my channel. A quick recap for anyone that doesn't remember from my previous videos or hasn't seen my previous videos yet. What I talk about when I talk about the truest sense of empowerment is instead of thinking that we need external things and circumstances and people and material objects, whatever external thing on the outside, instead of thinking that we need those things to feel a certain way, understanding that all we really want upon the accomplishing of any given goal is to feel better. So why not flip the equation and start creating our lives from a place of I'm going to feel the way I want to feel now, and then I'm going to let all the external things that come into my life as a result of me operating from a higher space, from a happier space, I'm going to let all those external things be icing on the cake. Instead of always feeling like we're striving endlessly for something out there to feel happier, when in reality, the power to feel happy is within us. It's that famous quote that we've all heard, happiness is an inside job. If you're anything like me over the years, I hear that quote and it doesn't inspire me as much as I think it inspires other people, mainly because I felt really confused about how do I do that. But that also is the question that has launched me on the quest of trying to find the answer, and it's the reason I've read so many of the books I've read and been on the journey I've been on for almost a decade at this point. So I don't regret that, but at the same time, it's one of those frustrating kind of quotes that makes me scratch my head sometimes and think, how do I practically do that? Like, happiness is an inside job, but how do I do that? So the story I want to tell is, back when I was at the very, very beginning of my journey, I remember just being so entrenched in the old paradigm of when this happens, I will be happy. When that person changes, I will be happy. And so I remember being on Twitter one day and I saw two tweets side by side from two people that I followed on social media. And one tweet was from a woman who was basically complaining about the weather in the city that she lived in. And just like really, the tweet was supercharged with a lot of negative energy, and she was just really, really invested in complaining about the weather. Weather is like the most cliched example of something that we can't control. So I remember feeling like the negative energy behind this tweet and thinking, oh my goodness, like of all the things to be complaining about, the weather, there's nothing you can do about it. And what's so funny is up to that point, I knew a little bit about this person's backstory, and I knew that she had been facing some difficulties in her personal life. So I kind of excused the negativity that she kind of kept putting forward on her Twitter page by thinking, well, all these external circumstances are a little bit like troubling in her life right now and she's struggling, so of course she's negative. Now on the flip side, the tweet right above her was the polar opposite in terms of this was a woman that was, by all accounts, she herself said that, she was living the life of her dreams. Like, she was one of the happiest people that I'd ever come across online in all the people that I follow on social media. Everything in her life seemed to be flowing and working, and it really was amazing to witness as a bystander. And what was so funny is that day, her tweet, she was just positively gushing and so happy about, wait for it, a cup of coffee from Starbucks. This second woman, I remember always thinking, of course she's so happy. All of the external things in her life are going so well. Who wouldn't be happy? If I had everything she has, I'd be happy too. I'm sure you guys are already probably seeing the pattern right now. I was squarely, like I said, very fixated on and very invested in the idea that your external circumstances had to be a certain way to create the feeling of happiness within you. And if your external circumstances did not look a certain way, you had every right to be negative and play the victim. And here's why the two tweets on this particular day were such a wake-up call for me. Let's call her the negative Nancy. The negative Nancy was sitting there complaining about the weather. This was not a circumstance unique to her. This was a circumstance everyone in this very large, bustling American city was dealing with, and she was just really focused on it and really fixated on it, and her negativity was really coming from that place of complaining about something that not only she couldn't control, but no one can control. So it's futile to spend your precious time and mental energy complaining about it. And on the flip side, let's call her the positive Polly, she was really, really happy about something that honestly is considered by most to be pretty mundane, a cup of coffee. We all, like, if you like coffee, you know what it's like. You have your cup of coffee every day, come hell or high water. It is one of those things you can always count on, to the point where, you know, it sucks when we don't get it. But, you know, as long as Starbucks is still standing there, Dunkin' Donuts is still standing there, we're getting our cup of coffee every day. And I remember looking at her tweet thinking, oh my God, I could go to Starbucks right now and get that exact order of coffee, and I would not be even a fraction as happy about it as she is. And that was the first day that it really clicked for me. What if the circumstances in the lives of both of these individuals are not the reason for why they are happy or unhappy respectively? What if their happiness or unhappiness, or positivity and negativity respectively, are causing their external circumstances to reflect that? It's that quote, you know, when you love what you have everything you need. You know, that was the first day I started to think, somebody that can be that happy about a cup of coffee, I can only imagine the way she spends the rest of her life into gold. I can only imagine. Like, she'll see the best in everything. She'll make the best of things that are less than ideal. But in general, that's going to be a happy person who's living a happy life. And also vice versa. If you're going to complain about the weather, you're probably complaining about everything else too, and then there's just going to be a negative ripple effect throughout every area of your life. So what I'm saying is, you know, it's such classic wisdom, it's not new, but, you know, whether it's gratitude, resilience, having perspective in the face of life challenges, you know, there's a lot of different tips and tricks and techniques and tools we can use to be happier from the inside out. Happiness is an inside job. In this case, it's being grateful for something that normally we take for granted, like a cup of coffee. If we start making habits out of these things, I'm really convinced, after practicing some of these tools myself, on again, off again, getting more consistent over the last decade, your life really does transform to reflect your outlook. So I just wanted to share that story because it really was one of those turning points in my life. As minor as the incident sounds, to see two tweets on Twitter kind of back to back, the juxtaposition of those two viewpoints and the topics of those tweets really, really opened my eyes in a way that was kind of earth-shattering for me at the time. And I hope by sharing that story, you know, somebody else, like if you didn't think about it that way, I hope it helps you. Because we're all on social media and we all see people tweeting all the time. It definitely was, it was a moment of wisdom where I remember, like, you know, after that happened, something in my mind had been forever changed. And I've been building on that wisdom ever since, little by little. So thank you so much, as always, for spending a few minutes of your day here with me today. And I look forward to seeing you again in my next video. Bye.